everyone, welcome back to Britannia Motorcycles and Winter Wonderland. We're back with the B44, and as I mentioned, I wasn't going to show you a lot on this, but there was a couple of things like the forks and the swinging arm which were going to be interesting. And the last thing basically I'm going to show you is some stuff to do with the barrel and the head. The customer wanted the compression lowering, and short of finding some special piston, I had actually looked for some before. What we're going to do is put a compression plate below the cylinder, but also I want to show you a couple of little dodges with the cylinder and the cylinder head, because in order to get the head and everything off these, you've got to take the engine out. There isn't enough room up here. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of little things you can do so that when you put the engine back in, you can just put the bottom end in, as you've seen here. You know, this is a pretty big lump. It's heavy, all the weight's in the crank. So you're still humping about probably 60 pounds, and when you get into advanced years, it's a bit much manoeuvring in here, particularly when you've got everything painted. Getting it out, you can just pull and rive at it to get it out, but putting it in, you want to be a little more exact. So I'm going to show you a couple of small things you can do so that you can actually put the bottom half of the engine in and then get the barrel head and rocker box on with it in the frame. So let me bring you in a little bit closer so you can see. I've put you on that side. I think it'll give you a better view and you'll be able to see me much better, which has got to be a bonus. So let me zoom you in. Come back to take 2. I just looked at the video when I was putting all this together and I realised I must have moved the camera and you couldn't see you couldn't see the really important bits that I was trying to tell you about. So I've taken it back off, but a couple of things I've left done. So we're lowering the compression ratio with a compression plate, and the customer got a set of plates, 4 plates actually, I think from Rickman's in the UK. Now Rupert Ratio says 2mm. Did I tell you this in the first bit? If I did, bear with me. Said 2mm to get us down to 8 to 1. So one of these plates was 1.97, so we're going to use that. That will be very nice. I've put it on already with 2 gaskets, one above and one below it. Everything greased up the way it should be. So now we come to the dodge. I've already got my rings set here the way I normally put them, with the ring gap for the oil scraper at the back, and I was pleased to notice that the oil scraper that came with this piston was the old solid type, not the ones with the there are 3 pieces, stupid little spring in. I hate them. They're really difficult to get the barrel on. So I was pleased by that. Also actually the circlips with the type with the little ears, so you can get all of them with your pliers, makes things a lot easier. Right, now with the B44, with the engine in the frame, you can't even get the barrel on. It catches on here. So our first little dodge is to do with that. Now if ever you've worked on the Street Scrambler Norton, as it was called here, with the Atlas engine in the matchless frame, not only did they have to cant the engine back a little bit to get it in, but in order to get the head on and off, it actually tells you in the workshop manual to grind a little bit off the rear rocker box. Now, why they didn't think of that before they built the damn thing, instead of just giving you a dodge in the handbook, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to do the same thing. Normally when you try to put this on, it won't go on. So what I've done is I've ground just a little bit off the top fin at the back. Now this is going to be where the carburetor is, and with the head on you won't even notice it. It's only about a 1/16 of an inch. I don't know if you can actually see that. But what it does do is it gives you just enough so that you can go in there and it will fit on. Right, so now let's see if we can get this on a little better than we did with the 250. You may remember a slight debacle there, and I ended up having to use the piston ring compressor. So let's see, are we all ready to go here? Okay. I've oiled the barrel, of course. I should say I've oiled the bore. I think you're probably going to get a few views of me hat in this one. There we go. Whoa, heavens above! By the way, if you're wondering what all the beer bottles are doing in the background here, they're left over from my New Year's party. We ride, we gossip in the workshop, and then we go into the house and have a big party, and my wife makes absolutely killer eggnog. There's about a whole bottle of rum in it. Now, come on. Oh dear, dear, dear. I don't know, whenever you people are watching, the simplest jobs develop a mind of their own. There we go. It's two. Sure our gap's still at the back. Yes it is. For a nasty moment there, I had this feeling I put the barrel on the wrong way around and the pushrod tunnel was going to be on this side. But even I'm not that bad. Hey! Right! Take our parallels out. And down it goes. Right. Piston up top dead centre. So the valves are closed. Right. Next little dodge. Ooh. First of all, let's put our freshly annealed copper gasket on. The B44 ones have this little lip that goes round and it goes to the top. But fortunately, if you can see it, they actually stamp it, which says top. So let's get this on here. This hasn't been cut as well. Oh, come on. As that compression plate. Once you get past the thread, you're generally alright. That's it. Down we go. So now the next thing is cross cylinder head. Won't come off. The studs catch on the top. Now you may remember, if you watched the 250 videos, that in that I actually took all these studs out and replaced them with Allen bolts, which then meant the rocker box didn't have to lift up to clear them, it only had to clear the valves. Well, with a B25 you're lucky. These are unified threads. So you can just run to the local hardware shop and get yourself some Allen bolts. But of course, BSA in their wisdom, although down there on the alternator, for instance, the 1/4 inch bolts down there are unified threads, the 1/4 inch ones up here are BSF/BSC. So you might not want to lay out for that. So what you do is you just take these two out. And then what you'll find is that will just go on as easily as that. It is in fact just this one at the back that catches. If it was a fraction of an inch shorter, it wouldn't. So we can put our head on. This bike fortunately came with its original very thick head washers, and you want thick ones. Some of this must be quite boring to watch, is it? If it is, just shout out and we'll do something about it. Alright. Another one of the homemade tools. It's been all ground down here so that it will fit in, and then the socket on here so you can attach your torque wrench to it and get the correct torques for these nuts. So I'll tighten all those down in a moment, but next thing you would do is a little bit of grease on the ends just to hold them. Put in your push rods. Now the B44 push rods are the same length, unlike the B25. Layout is the same, inner one is exhaust. Just have a little look down there. Do you like my snazzy torch? US Air Force issue. My daughter was in the US Air Force, even though she was a British citizen. And they told her because she was a British citizen, they wouldn't be able to send her to a base anywhere else in the world except the US, which really annoyed her because one of the reasons she joined was to get a little bit of travel. However, it didn't stop them from suddenly coming one night, telling her to get on a plane, and the next thing she's in Kuwait. Which is a place I know very well. Right, so when you've got that done, then also you see, with a slight jiggle like that. Where are we? Come on now. Don't mess us about. Oh, it's the wrong one, Michael. That goes on like that. Swivels round a little bit. And voila, on it goes. So there you go. I'll tighten everything down and that'll be it. So you can get barrel, head and rocker box on. Then just to prove that they will go in, that one will go in there. Thought it was being a bit awkward. It's been a bit awkward because it's the wrong one. That's the longer one. That one goes in there easily. That one goes in there. And there you go. It doesn't help you getting it out really. Well, it could. If you can get these out when you're dismantling, then you can get that off and you can get the head off. And then you could even, I suppose, file this to get the barrel off if you particularly didn't want to take the engine out. Other than that, you've at least got to lift it out of its mountings and just lean it over a little bit. It doesn't take much, actually. In fact, probably if it was like the B25 with plates on the back and the little spaces, you could probably just tip it over and get it out. But it isn't a B25. So there it is. Just a shortish video, a couple of little tips for any of you that have got B44s. And thanks for watching. I've just thought of something else I should tell you about compression plates on the BSA engines. As I mentioned, this you can get them in all different sizes, and the one we put in, the 2mm one, is about the maximum you can get to without having to do something with the push rods. If you were to use this thick one, I'll guarantee that when you put the push rods in, there'd be no valve adjustment left. The rockers just wouldn't even touch the push rods. So you would need to do a little bit of something extra. So I'm going to bring a bit closer in here and I'll show you what you need to do. Now what you could do, of course, is make the adjuster in the rocker longer. You could make a longer one, which means all sorts of machining, and it's got to be in a hard steel and all the rest of it. So the easiest thing to do is to lengthen the push rod. Now you could, of course, make yourself a brand new push rod, but again, that's a lot of work. So what you do is you take the end cup off your push rod. Now, sometimes they come off easily, sometimes they don't. It's one of those things that you see in workshops, you know, workshop manuals where it says, just do this, and then you find out it's almost impossible. If you heat this up a little bit, it'll sometimes come off easier, but anyway, it's just a matter of getting it off. So then what you want to do is make yourself a little disc. Stay where you put. There you go. Don't know if you can see that there, any easier than laid down. But what you're going to do is you're going to make a little disc, same diameter as the push rod, so that it'll fit into this cap. Then we're going to put that in there, put that back on with a bit of Loctite. Well, what you're in fact doing is, what I always do is try to make this the same thickness, out of the same thickness material as the compression plate is. That way you've moved the head a little bit further away from the cam followers, but you've made the push rods the same length, or the same extra length, so it's a wash. There's no difference in the amount of distance between the end of this and the end of the rocker, because as the rocker's moved up, that's moved up exactly the same amount. Of course, if you used the really thick, if you're using a really thick plate, then the chances are you couldn't put that one in, because you can see how long the part is that the end cap goes on. You know, you wouldn't want it so that the end cap was just on here. So if you get to really thick ones, you just got to do the best you can. But with the thinner ones, the easiest thing to do, as I say, is to make it up out of the same thickness of alloy. Now, you could, if you have a lathe, you can put some alloy in, turn it down to the right diameter, and then using a cut-off tool, you can cut off some little discs. Or, providing the alloy you're using isn't a really hard grade, you can use a punch, and then just tidy the edges up. So as I say, that's all you need to do. Pull the cap off, make a little disc up, put it in the cap, Loctite your cap back on, and voila, you're back to your original valve clearances. So there you go. See you again. Old age creeping up on me. I've forgotten something else that I should have mentioned to you if you're working on a B44. The two hold down bolts on this side, they give you virtually no room. In fact, you can't even get a ring spanner on, never mind a socket. This side there is a cutaway. This side on yours, you'll find the fins are actually perfectly straight. So what you've got to do is grind out a little bit, you see, and you sort of contour it in and make it all look like the factory did it on both sides, and then that'll give you room to get either a socket on, or of course your amazing spanner that you've made into a longer torque wrench. Alright, now I'm going to walk around the other side and show you something else. Finally, I promise, round this side you'll notice I've filed the pushrod tunnel a little bit. For some reason on the left hand side, same with the 250s, they don't give... Whoop, whoop. Ooh. Whoa. Rush of blood to my head there. They don't give you enough room to get the washer on. So you've got to just file a tiny little bit off and then the washer will drop on. So that is definitely it, I hope. We'll see you another time.